Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're jumping right into a topic that's probably going to hit home for a lot of you. We are unpacking a really fascinating phenomenon: why highly intelligent people, high performers, actually choose distance. Like if you've ever felt this sudden, overwhelming urge to just pull away from the crowd and focus entirely on your own path, well, you are absolutely not alone. And the best part, this instinct isn't some personal flaw, not at all. We're going to dive into the cognitive mechanics and the psychology behind why high-achieving individuals frequently step back from their social circles. We'll be looking at concepts like ego depletion and cognitive load to really decode what is actually an incredibly strategic choice. So let's be totally honest for a second. Have you ever felt genuinely guilty for saying no to a social event? I mean, picture this. Your phone buzzes. It's an invite. And your immediate gut reaction, it's just a wave of social fatigue. You literally just want to disappear into your work, your thoughts, or a personal project. Honestly, let's be real, sometimes the absolute greatest joy in adult life is the sheer relief of canceled plans. But right on the heels of that relief is usually a heavy dose of guilt. We're conditioned to feel bad about it. But that instinct to vanish for a bit, it's incredibly common among focused learners and high performers. And the thing is, this guilt comes from the fact that we live in this hyper-connected world. You know, a world where the average person gets dozens, maybe hundreds of notifications a day, and being constantly available is somehow treated as this ultimate virtue. Because of this relentless connectivity, when you actually decide to take a step back, to disappear and focus on your goals, society often paints it as a negative trait. The guilt of disappearing becomes this massive burden, right? It gets labeled as a personal flaw, like you're somehow failing at being a functioning human being just because you need to turn inward for a bit. Yeah, society looks at this need for space and just immediately slaps a label on it: social failure. The world tends to look at someone who is isolating themselves to work on their dreams, and they wrongly view that disappearing act as a deficit. People ask, oh, why are they being so antisocial? Why are they withdrawing? But framing this as a failure, that completely misses the reality of what's actually happening here. It is absolutely not a deficit. It's a highly tactical choice. Think of it like an elite athlete resting up before a massive championship game. It's literally a strategic retreat designed to preserve your vital resources. Okay, let's dive into this and reframe it entirely. When intelligent people choose distance, they aren't failing at socializing. Actually, they're actively succeeding at something else entirely, becoming selective with their energy. This is a profound shift in perspective. Instead of viewing distance as an absence of socializing, we really need to view it as the presence of intense prioritization. High performers understand a very basic psychological reality. You just can't give 100% to your ambitious goals and 100% to every single social obligation without experiencing severe burnout. There's just no way. The source material puts this perfectly. It notes that high performers become more selective with their energy. And those words are incredibly deliberate. I mean, think about what it actually means to be selective. It means you're evaluating your options and making a conscious, careful choice. Your energy, both mental and emotional, is a finite resource. It's governed by real limits, like cognitive load and ego depletion. It is not an endless well. Intelligent people recognize this boundary. They know that every single yes to a draining social interaction is essentially a no to their own internal development. So they protect their energy because they have to. Think of selective energy as the intentional guarding of your mental and emotional resources for high-value goals. It operates exactly like an economy. I mean, you wouldn't just throw your hard-earned money at every random risky investment that crosses your desk, right? So a focused learner doesn't throw their finite mental energy at every social situation. They guard those resources intentionally. They budget their emotional bandwidth. They carefully choose exactly where to spend it to make sure it yields the absolute highest return for their personal and professional trajectory. Now, obviously, managing this energy economy naturally creates a bit of friction. As you accelerate, an inevitable evolution takes place. You begin to outgrow relationships. And look, this isn't out of malice or arrogance. It's simply a matter of physics and psychology. When a person's evolving goals accelerate their growth, they very often find that their current social circle is moving at a completely different pace, or maybe in a totally divergent direction. It's just the natural result of upgrading your internal operating system. To truly grasp this dynamic, we have to look at alignment. Alignment happens when personal relationships mutually support and reflect your trajectory. Think of it like drafting in competitive cycling. When you're aligned, you are effortlessly pulling each other forward, right? You're conserving energy. But when you're misaligned, oh man, you're just pedaling against the wind. When your goals and your circle's interests diverge,
those interactions stop being enriching and they just become exhausting. The high performer quickly realizes that spending time in misaligned relationships is draining the exact energy they are so fiercely trying to protect.
Let's move to and see how this builds, tracing this deeply logical progression of a high performer outgrowing certain environments. Step 1. Your focus shifts intensely to your goals. You are absolutely locked in. Step 2. Social friction occurs. Friends might wonder why you're MIA, or you might feel totally drained trying to keep up with conversations that just don't resonate with your path anymore. And step 3. Intentional distancing begins. The high performer realizes the friction is costing them their focus, so they deliberately pull back to recalibrate. And this brings us to a crucial reframe for the focused learner. The act of pulling away is actually a profound sign of internal reflection, not failure. When an intelligent person disappears from the social scene, they aren't hiding because they're defeated or, socially inept. They are retreating to process, to strategize, and to grow. They're deliberately turning the volume down on all that external noise so they can finally turn the volume up on their internal dialogue. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how incredibly stark the contrast is here. Society pushes this myth that disappearing equates to social failure, isolation, or a failure to adapt. But the psychological reality is entirely different. It's deep, necessary internal reflection. This is where the magic actually happens. This is the intensive psychological work that high performers simply must do to reach the next level. The very thing society incorrectly labels a social failure is actually the foundational bedrock of a high performer's success. So the crucial point is that distance is a mechanism for growth. It is not a punishment. It's not a symptom of some deeper problem. It is a highly effective, positive, and protective measure. By choosing distance, intelligent people are basically building an impenetrable fortress around their focus. They're creating the necessary space to shed those misaligned relationships, conserve their selective energy, and engage in the intense internal work required to hit those high-value goals. Distance is simply the vehicle that gets them there.
So if you've been beating yourself up for pulling away, ask yourself, are you losing your social skills or are you just finding your focus? The source material makes it abundantly clear that your instinct to step back is valid, it's strategic, and it is very often the hallmark of a highly intelligent, high performer protecting their cognitive bandwidth. The next time you feel the need to disappear into your work, just remember, you aren't failing. You are just aligning with your true trajectory. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this gives you the absolute permission you need to fiercely protect your focus.